Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. My name is Alberto Ibáñez Diario. I work as a global project manager for the United Nations Agency for Migration, also known as the International Organization for Migration, or IOM. And today I'm going to present a project that we started a few months ago called Maximizing Solar Energy Harvesting, and has to do with the use of solar energy technology in water projects and beyond. So a little bit to give some background to this project. From 2016 to 2022, IOM ran something called the Global Solar&Water Initiative. And this was a project that has as a main aim to support the introduction and mainstreaming of solar energy technology for water projects, specifically to power water pumps. And during these 6 years, we have done a number of activities that help us to connect with over 200 organizations in dozens of countries, supporting these organizations in different ways so that they could introduce and scale up the use of solar energy in their water supply projects, whether these were for human consumption or livestock or irrigation projects. And while we develop this project, we tried at different points in time to map a little bit how this adoption of technology was growing in the WASH sector, the water sanitation and hygiene sector. And this mapping has been always a little bit patchy because it was difficult to get information from everywhere in all the countries we're interested in. So as you can see there in the screen, we were able to map just a few tens of projects. Back in 2015, it was back then difficult to find water projects that were using solar technology to supply water. And this grew dramatically over the years, and more than the numbers that I'm showing there themselves, what I wanted to show here is, and that is what other proxy indicators are also telling us, is that the adoption of solar technology has grown enormously in the WASH sector, in humanitarian projects, but also in more long-term developmental ones. Yeah. As we ran this project, we also realized that when you branch a solar panel to a water pump, the solar panel works in a range of power that I am showing there in dotted lines. So whatever pump you branch to a solar panel or a number of solar panels will work between the minimum power range of the pump and the maximum power range of the pump. Yeah, it cannot work with power under the minimum and it will not take more power than the maximum range. However, solar panels work in a way in which from sunrise to sunset, there is a solar panel energy output that is represented there by the yellow line. And as you can see, as the sun rises in the sky, this solar panel energy output grow. It reaches a peak around the central hours of the day, typically, and then comes down, and then it reaches zero again to sunset. So the power is, the pump is basically taking the energy in between the dotted lines, which means that when the energy that comes from the solar panel is below the minimum, which happens in the beginning and at the end of the solar day, or when the solar energy coming from the solar panels is above the maximum pump power, which happen typically in the central hours of the day, this energy is not used by the pump. Yeah. So because there is only the pump that is used, is connected to the panels through solar pumping inverters, what happens is that you have, let's say, a chunk of energy that is never produced and therefore is somehow wasted or not used. Yeah. We knew this for some time, but it was visiting one community in the Ethiopian Somali region where we were evaluating a project, a water project that is represented there by the blue bars. And this was a solar pumping station that were providing over 100 cubic meters per day, any day of the year. So 100,000 liters of water per day or more per year. I'm talking to the community. They asked if it was possible also to somehow power their phones, yeah, because there was no grid in the village, there was no any other power source there. And so we have this conversation about powering phones and, you know, having some lights in the community, etc. And then we revisit the technical design of this water supply station. Yeah. And we look at the energy that the solar panels installed could provide, which is represented here by the red bars. And the dotted lines, as the slide before, is the range of power for the pump that was working in that particular station. And what we realized is that there was all this energy, 41 kilowatt hour, or 38% of everything that could be supplied by the solar panels that was never used. Because again, in solar water pumping technology, you just have the pump connected to the inverter and the panels, or the control box and the panels. So you have all this chunk of energy there, and then our next step was to try to figure out what you can do with that energy. Is that a lot? Is that a little? And what kind of things you can power with that? So we extended the study to a number of other existing solar water pumping systems. I'm just representing or showing here 5 of them in different locations: Ethiopia, Yemen, and Nigeria. And these are different size solar pumping stations. The first one just served a population of 600 people at 20 liters per person per day. The second one served water for 4,000, 7,500, up to 15,000. So the power of the pump there increased from 4 kilowatts in the first case in Ethiopia to 30 kilowatts in Yemen. And this is the range of pumps that you typically found in most of the water projects that we developed and we found during all these previous years. NGOs, UN agencies, and government implement in in many countries. And so we quantify the solar panel output, which is this column that you see here. And then from that, how much it was used by the pump and how much was available in those sites. And that surplus unused energy for the first case, it was 6,063 watt-hour per day, or 62% of the energy that the panels installed there could provide. So there was 62% of the energy that was never used in that particular location in Jijiga. And you can see that percentage, it changes. And more important than the percentage, I would say, is also the total number of watt-hour per day. Because you can see, for example, the bottom case for Yemen have only 25% of unused energy, but that, because it was a large system, it was over 100,000 watt-hour per day. Yeah. And so we, in the green table, try to figure out, as a theoretical exercise, what kind of things we could power with that unused energy. Yeah. So for that first small project or station in Ethiopia, Jijiga, with this 6,000 watt-hour per day on average available, we could power or charge 300 phones in a community of 600 people. We could also additionally power 10 lights during 8 hours per day, a TV, and 8 ceiling fans, maybe for the school or the health post or a community center. Yeah. And we did the same exercise for all the other schemes. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you see, for example, the last one with those 108,000 watt-hour per day available on average in any day of the year, you can charge all those phones, have all those lights, TV. You could have 50 public lighting installed, working during 8 hours per day, and you could power additionally some desktops, the fridge, maybe for vaccines or in any business that might be in that community. And you can see also printer, portable X-ray, sterilization equipment, and here it is, the vaccine fridge, 3 units for 24 hours. Yeah. So overall, we realize it's not a negligible amount of energy that is not being used in all those thousands of locations where organizations are installing every year solar pumping stations. Yeah. And that's a real pity, because in many of those locations, there is no grid, or the grid is so unreliable that you might need another power source to power devices or have lights at night. Yeah. So that was a first, let's say, discovery for us. We thought there is maybe an opportunity here to develop something, because all those solar panels with all that unused energy are already installed, as I said, in all those thousands of locations every year, villages, refugee camps, IDP camps, and so on. We also realized that there is what we call additional idle energy, because those water pumps that are connected to solar panels, in a good number of cases, are not on during all the hours of the solar day, because maybe there is no need to have that much water, maybe because other reasons, the water tanks are full, whatever it is. And when you stop the solar pump, the water pump during the hours, what you have is the whole array of solar panels that became idle. Yeah. So the 100% of energy during that time where the pump is not working, the energy could be available for other things, but again, it was unused because, as I said, in this kind of technology and equipment, you only have the possibility to connect one water pump to the inverter or the control box. Yeah, and for every hour that we could use the total capacity of all the solar panels because the pump is not working, we could have a 15% additional energy to the surplus energy. Yeah. And you have different percentages for different water schemes depending on the size and other things, but that add up to what is already available to those water schemes. So we came back with this approach in where we were thinking, why don't we pass from what is being done now by so many organizations, the solar water pumping scheme, pumps connected to solar pumps, to something that we call the solar community hub, which is having other things connected to those thousands of schemes that are already in the field. And those other things could be, depending on the needs in the place and the preference of the users, could be different things. Yeah, but as I explained before, there is an important amount of energy that allow us to do a number of things. Yeah, or power a number of devices, lighting, and so on. So we presented this model to some donors, and we got some funding to develop the idea. And some of you might be thinking, oh, well, that looks a little bit like a mini grid. But there are some important differences that I try to show there. Probably the first one is that these are water projects. So water is the main objective of the project. Yeah, and for water projects, we have multi-billion budgets allocated every year, especially in the humanitarian sector. So the budgets are there to develop this kind of approach. We have also an existing engineering capacity in the field. We have thousands of water engineers from hundreds of WASH organizations already deployed in the field, which will make easier to explore the possibility to implement and scale up this idea. And a critical thing as well is that we have the management models. Water schemes have established management models to ensure the operation and maintenance and therefore their sustainability over the long term. We don't need to come with a new model or invent anything new. We can, let's say, work with the existing models that are already in refugee camps, IDP camps, or communities in all those countries where we work. And then an additional benefit of the approach would be that because we have the possibility now to use better those solar panels in those communities, there will be an interest from the communities to better manage the water resource. You don't want to pump during all the hours of the day because pumping is for free because we don't need diesel. You might become more aware of let's pump what we need because when we don't pump, we can use that energy for other things. And that opened the door also to more options for better social engineering. Yeah. So that's a little bit the project that we put in place. And where we are right now, I mean, this is a very simple scheme of what is a solar water pumping. You have solar panels and then you have an energy flow to the inverter, the control box that is branched to a water pump, and then you have a water output there. And the model that we are exploring and we have already tested at the university lab of the Polytechnic University of Valencia in Spain is to add up here an energy management system so that we have a power output additional to the water output at the same time. And we are aiming to explore these layouts so that we can ensure you have the same amount of water for the community that you had before for those existing systems or more, that we can play with this energy management system so that we have the pump running for longer hours if necessary, or working during very cloudy days as well. We will have the opportunity with that power output to allow for lighting and device powering, whether it is on-site, where the scheme is, or off-site, as we are exploring the addition of some power banks here, portable power banks in that power output. And as I explained before, also to take full advantage of solar panels when the pump is not working. Yeah. This is my last slide. We got some funding to develop this idea from 2022 to 2025. We have spent already the first year and we have arrived to this phase. We have run already some tests. We have published some articles that I could share if there is interest. And we have already one layout that has been put in place with components that are commercially available. And we are ready to test it. Yeah. So next month, I will be going with my colleagues from the Polytechnic University of Valencia to Zimbabwe to install the first pilots in some communities. And later on, we will go to Nigeria and maybe to Nepal too. Yeah. So when we do that installations, we will, of course, monitor them, evaluate them, perhaps refine them. And in the learning process, we will develop some knowledge material that we hope to share with other interested WASH actors. So if you are working in a research institute or some kind of academic organizations that are exploring similar things, or you are interested to see or support additional pilots in some place where you work, please do reach out and we can discuss more about it. Otherwise, this is the end of the presentation, and thank you very much for your attention. Now I think we have some minutes for questions if there is any. So over to you. Okay, I had been said that as this is a live stream, participants won't be able to talk, but you have my contact there. Please reach out. We can talk more about it. I can share more details. I can share our first results, and I will be happy to interact with you as we try to explore this new model for better, more efficient use of solar technology in the field. Thank you very much.